What's up, YouTube? It's Adam Grover, and today I'm coming at you with this video about the green Mustang. I mentioned in one of the most recent videos I did, or more recent videos I've done this past week, that I might do a video telling you guys the history of this car and why it holds a special place in my heart. So, I'm going to try to give you every detail, and hopefully it's not too painful for you guys. And for the guys who already know it, if you don't feel like watching, you can exit now. But for the guys who don't know and care, stick around. It's actually a pretty intriguing story, but it might be painful. Warning. So, when I was like 2 or 3, my dad had a notch. It was black. It had like L60s on the back. It looked like it was mini tub, 10 holes. Had a red pinstripe down it. Winner's gate shifter. I want to say it had like the steering wheel, the Grant one with the little holes in it, and I think it had a little scoop on it. The car was real nice, but I love that car to death. You have no idea. What do you want to take, the Mustang or the LTD? The Mustang, the Mustang. Can we take the Mustang home? Parents were split up, and I wanted to take the Mustang, always. I'd get upset if he didn't. So he ended up selling the car. I was mad at him for selling that. I said, I'm gonna buy one just like it one day. And closest thing I got is the one right there, the 80. And it's nowhere near what that car was, but that 86, that was like my first love, I guess, for cars. And to fast forward, go through a Fairmont wagon and a couple other cars, and he ends up with this Capri bubble hatch car. He ended up putting the GT hatch and lights, and I think it had turbines on it. Painted the grill and the headlight stuff black in it. I think he painted around the taillights black too, or he might have found a black set, the cheese grater taillights. I want to say he painted all the trim black. I think he painted one of the fenders or something orange. He was going to paint it orange. And it smoked pretty bad. But this car would do a burnout. 6-cylinder stick shift. This thing would fry the tires off of it. I don't know why. It wasn't fast, but it would. Talk about a burnout. It would do a burnout. So we end up going to the Ford dealer one day. It's just something me and my dad used to do. Go to the dealer, walk around, kill some time, maybe take a car out, have some AC, on a hot day. Ride around in a nice car, just, hanging out. And we go to the Ford dealer, Miller Ford, and at this time I'm probably like around 5 years old or so. And we see this green Mustang. Well, I see it. And I'm like, buy it. So you got to buy that car, like I love this. I want it. I want you to buy it. And he goes, I just can't buy it, Adam. It's not that easy. He's trying to explain it to me, and I said, you won't even try, like, come on. So the salesman walks out. His name was Dennis. Never forgot his name, first name. I don't know the last name, but first name was Dennis. He had a ponytail down his back like Steven Seagal, and I think he was in a leather jacket or something, if I remember right. And he goes, can I help you? It's like afternoon time. And my dad goes, I was wondering about that green Mustang you got there, and he goes, oh, we can find out about it. He goes, I'm not sure about that, to be honest. And, my dad, he was trying to talk me out. He's like, it's somebody's car, I was like, you won't even ask, And the guy goes, I can find out about it for you. So we walk back into the dealer, and he goes, yeah, that was just traded in. That car actually just came in. We haven't even had a chance to put the window sticker on it yet. But I goes, oh, okay. He goes, you want to take it out or whatever? And my dad's, yeah, sure. So we take the car out for a ride. It's nice. Air fireworks in it compared to an old smoky Capri. You know, this thing's nice. And he's trying to talk me out of it. He's like, look, Adam, this thing's slow. It won't even spin a tire, you know, and he's hitting into it with the air and stuff on and all that, you know. I said, I don't care. Me being little, it's a Mustang, not realizing the Capri's closer to the black Mustang than the green car is his 85 notch. Because just the Mustang name, you're a kid, you know. Big difference between an Arrow nose and a 4i car, but I was in love with this thing. This was like love at first sight for me, this car. So, get back to the dealer. He goes, what do you think? He goes, I don't know. He goes, well, how about this? You take it for a week and, you know, see how you like it. And if you want to do something, you know, we'll do something. And if not, if you still don't like it then, or you still, we'll figure something out, basically. So my dad did. He took it for a week. He goes, well, I'll have a car for a week at least. That's nice, you know, even if I can't buy it, you know. And it's kind of messed up, I guess, looking back. But from a parent perspective, you know, you're driving your kid around in something that smokes. You know, he wanted to take me home in a nice car and at least have it. And he drove it for that week. I think we went back to the dealer, and if I remember correctly, the guy goes, so what do you want to do? My dad goes, well, if I can get approved and everything works out, I'd like to buy it. I would like to buy it. So guy goes, oh, I don't know. That car's too old to be financed. So car was too old to be financed, but still new enough to be beautiful and nice. So that gives you a timeline a little bit. Car's a 91. I'll let you guys do the math. But he goes, let me talk to the boss and see, you know, if we can figure something out. So he comes back and he goes, well, I don't know what's happening, but he's going to approve you. He's going to do it. So he goes, okay. And he goes, well, what do you got, you know, down payment wise? I can't remember if my dad had anything or if he borrowed it, whatever he did back then. But asked about trade-in, and it was the Capri. He goes, I'd be trading the Capri in, I guess. He goes, oh, well, you know, kind of really don't want that. It's junk, you know, of course. Different colors and things and smokes. So we're like, yeah, we can't give you much for that, you know. And I goes, oh, okay. You know, it's not looking too good. But he goes, let me talk to the boss. So he talks to the boss and comes out with like a number. It's like $50 or $100 or something for trade-in. And so somehow, and I can't remember how it went down, but they ended up, the guy comes back and he goes, I don't believe this. I don't understand it. He goes, they're going to give you $500 for that car. He goes, I don't know where this is coming from. He goes, you know, he already said that he could only do X amount, and now they're willing to give you 500. I don't know, or 300, whatever it was. And my dad goes, oh, okay. And he goes, I never seen nothing like this in my life. He goes, you know, I don't know what's going on. What he probably didn't know is that we were praying for this thing. This was, ended up calling the car God's gift after that. That's what it was to us. This was God's gift to us. You know, this was a blessing from God, this car. Some people might not believe in that, you know, because they say God's not materialistic and stuff, but I believe God does things and blesses people with, you know, especially people in need in a time like that, you know, driving me around. He didn't have a good car to drive me around in and stuff. So this was something that helped him out a lot and helped me out, probably maybe saved a couple years off my life, not breathing in fumes and stuff with smoky cars and everything. So we end up getting the car. And, you know, I'm souped. My dad has a Mustang. I don't care. It's a 4-cylinder. You know, it's a Mustang. So he gets weld wheels for the front of it. Then he puts L60s or G60s on the back and the 10 holes. I remember the weld wheels, he had the tires, and he's sitting in his apartment jumping up and down on the tires, trying to push them down with his feet, mounting the front tires in his apartment room. So, I'm around, it might have been the same winter, maybe the next winter, driving home with the car, and my dad goes, "You want to drive the car?" Of course. You know, I'm a little kid. Yeah, I want to drive the car. What are you talking about? So he puts me on his lap. We're in where I lived. My mom lived in a condo. So we're in the complex for the condo. And he's right there. You know, I'm on his lap, so he can do whatever he's got to do. But he's letting me steer it. And I remember we go over a speed bump, and he hits it to the floor. He wants to see what I can do, apparently. So I did the only thing that you could do when a car starts to brake sideways. I straightened it out, you know. Mind you, I'm 5 or 6 years old, and I'm just a little kid. Never drove a real car before. So he's like dumbfounded. He's like, holy crap. Like, he just straightened, he didn't touch the wheel, nothing. He sat there, and I straightened it. He let off the gas, and I drove it, I steered it the rest of the way. So from there on, almost every weekend, he'd let me, sometimes he wouldn't, but most of the time he let me drive the car through the complex after that. So that was the first car I ever drove, period. Besides cars being pushed, maybe, you know, steer it, you know, trying to steer the car while it's being pushed. But that was the first car that driving I ever drove. And I remember being excited. He goes, "Where'd you learn to do that? How do you know to do that?" He's asking me, you know, because he's impressed. And I said, "I don't know, I just did it. It's what you do, you know." So, years go by now, and the car ends up getting a V8 in it. Blows the transmissions with the 4-cylinder. It goes through like 3 of them. It blows one like years later down the road, and then he puts one in. It blows it like, I think the first one was a couple weeks, and then the third one was like a couple months. And he's like, "Forget this. It's getting a V8." So I got some like Lincoln motor or something, and I'm kind of summing this up, because it got one motor and the cam got pushed out the back of it, and then another motor went in it. I'm not going to give the details on what happened with that. But the other motor went in it, and this one knocked. So I remember he'd pulled the timing, and the knock would go away. He goes, "Oh, I guess I'll just keep timing out of it. When I drive it and when I race it, I'll put timing in it." Now I'm around 11 years old or so now. The car goes like 1530s or something. And I remember when a 2060 foot, because our buddy's vet, that's what that did. It would go 2060 foot. So this car would 60 with a vet, but it just had no top end. It barely used first gear. But, you know, we raced a couple people with it, and it held its own back then. You know, 15s back then, that's what your average GT went. We had a GT, we would race our buddy's car, had an AOD in it, and we'd be, whoever basically got the launch, which was usually my dad, we'd edge him out by a nose. Our buddy Ronnie. And my brother actually ended up with that car, and the car's still around. The guy, we call him Mr. Buddy Gracie, he actually owns the car. He was bracket racing it. But back to this. We drive it around. Like I said, knocked. People actually heard the knock over the exhaust. They said, "Yeah, we heard you coming." My dad goes, "Oh, how'd it sound?" They said, "Oh, I don't know. We heard the knock over the exhaust. We didn't even hear the car. We just heard the rod knock, and we know it was you." So that's how bad the motor was. And it lasted like at until the trans actually blew out of that before the motor went. But he said, if I'm pulling the trans out, I'm pulling the motor and trans. So pulled the motor and trans at her cousin's house, and ends up getting a motor. I think it was my brother's. The motor had a ton of miles on it, but it was a roller, 80 something, 87 forged piston motor, and the stick shift came out of my cousin's car, my cousin Brian. His car happened to, the pistons kiss the valves, and they pulled it apart to check something on it, and they noticed that, and he goes, well, I'm gonna change it. I'm putting the automatic in it, and yada yada. So he gave my dad the stick. My dad wasn't even gonna put a stick in the car, but one day my dad goes over to Brian's, and I think the door was open or something, and Brian goes, yeah, I just got done putting the stick shift pedals in your car. My dad goes, what? He goes, yeah, I figure I'm putting an automatic in mine. I needed the auto pedals. He goes, I figured put the stick in yours, My dad goes, I wasn't even going to put a stick in that car, but I guess, all right. He's, I don't even have a train. He goes, yeah, you got mine. Put mine in it. That's the type of people we had, That's what I grew up with. My cousin Brian, Richie, Saul. If you watch my dad's channel, you'll see Richie's cars on there. They were brothers. And there was our buddy Fred. So these are the guys that were around, and we all helped each other. They all helped each other out back then, And so the car ends up getting together. I think if I remember right, my dad put the timing chain and gear on it, and I think he jumped the chain, like with a breaker bar and a wrench on the. I don't even know how he did it. Looking back, I would think he'd snap the cam bolt right off of it. I don't know if he wedged something on the gear or how he did it, but somehow he advanced the cam like a tooth or so. And I'll tell you what, this car was an animal back then. For me being a young kid, the car just threw the gears just instantly, bam, 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 like nasty. Had the 4-cylinder rear in it still, 373s or whatever they came with, but it was just instant. Had the 650 carburetor, Edelbrock intake, and it was around this time that I'm about 13 at this point, and it was around this time that I said to Brian and my dad that one day I'll put a car together and it'll go 11s. And Brian goes, it's impossible, you can't. I said, I'm going to put a stock Mustang together, Mustang together with a stock motor, it'll go 11s. And he goes, well, how are you going to do that? And I'd been reading books and magazines and stuff, and I said, well, if I use like the Cobra stuff, and just put like the Cobra cam, because I thought the cam might have been different. I didn't realize it was the rockers and stuff that were different. I was like, if I use that, he goes, well, that's not stock. I said, sure it is. It's Cobra, Use whatever heads I can use on it, GT40s or port the stock ones or whatever I got to do. Back then, I'm figuring out ways to try to go this fast, 13 years old. He goes, well, then it's not stock. I said, well, why ain't it? And my dad goes, it kind of is, because he's trying to make it so me and my cousin don't get in an argument and make it so he's sticking up for me, but because I'm a kid, I don't know. But I said, it's pretty much stock. So I said, regardless, he goes, well, you can't do that. It's not stock. I said, fine, I'll do it without doing that stuff. I said, and I'll still go 11s. I said, I think it can be done. And my dad goes, well, you'll see. You'll do it, I guess, and smoothed it over, and that was that. So ever since then, I had a goal. Back then. Not knowing it a single thing. So now we got this green car. It's going together, and I told you we took it for a ride. It was nasty for what it was, and mind you, this is 2005-ish. Yeah, about 2005. So there was this guy that lived up the street from Brian. His name was Art, and he had like a 99 Cobra convertible. And I think it was a 70 Maverick. It's actually my cousin's car now. And he comes by in the Maverick. I'll never forget it. He comes by in the Maverick, and the thing's bouncing like this, has no shocks in it. And he goes, I got something for you guys. You know, he's joking around and laughing. And my dad goes, you're gonna need more than that. And he goes, I got something for that green car right there. He goes, I don't know. I don't want to hurt your feelings. I think you might want to go grab your Cobra. He goes, you don't want no parts of the Cobra. He goes, you don't want that. He goes, I'm going to tell you right now. If you bring that Cobra out here, it's going to get mopped up. He goes, I don't want to hurt your feelings. He goes, but you got something coming if you bring that Cobra down here. He goes, well, I'll go home and grab it then. We'll go right over here. And he did. He brings the car down. My dad laughed. He goes, all right. So we go out right up the street. And if you turn right out of the road off of Brian's house, he lives right on the corner right there. You go past blinking light, go down a little ways to a stop sign, make a right, and it took you back in the ranges out there in Browns Mills. And there's not a lot of traffic out there, but that's where we ended up going right to. So I think I was in the car with him, and pull up next, in the oncoming traffic lane. Don't do this at home. And my dad goes, go ahead, say ready, set, go. So I said ready, and they're tacking them up. I said set, go, like that, and it was, my dad from the rip just tore that thing up. So we get back to Brian's, and Art goes, man, that thing is fast. What the heck is done to that? He goes, I thought you were bullcrapping, man. I didn't think you were serious. He goes, that thing just tore me up. And my dad goes, I told you. You don't want to listen. So then it goes on. I end up driving the car and stuff here and there, I remember we go out to this place. I call it a burnout road. My dad would always do a burnout on this little road in Pemberton. And he lets me drive the car. And he goes, when you get on this road out here, he goes, stop, get it straight. He goes, and, you can jump on it. He goes, but when I tell you to stop, stop. So I'm like, all right. Of course. I'm down. So I jump on it first, second, and he goes, all right, that's enough. Tell me to shut it down. I bang it in the third, and then I go to shut it down. Now there's this little rickety bridge, and it's bumpy, like it's bad, like you'll fly over it. But I've driven with my dad enough, and he's gotten on it on that road, so I know that you gotta hit the brakes, let off the brakes as you're going up and over, and then hit the brakes again. You gotta kind of cushion the blow. So I end up doing all that, and he was ticked. So I get reprimanded. He yells at me. I don't know why you did that for. You're not driving this no more. Blah blah blah. So I ended up driving the car again after that. But he had a couple other races. We had our buddy Ronnie. He ended up getting a 99. I think it was a 2002, the exact year, but like a 99 to 04 body style Roush. Car was nice. Pewter gray. I think had black interior. The car was just Real nice car. So, excuse me. He wants to race, and we race him, and we tear him up bad. And he goes, "Man, you really, that thing's fast. You really got me." Like I was, my dad goes, I was spraying it, you know. And he goes, "Oh, really? All right." He goes, "Yeah, I hit the bottle on you, you know, just messing around with you." There was no nitrous on the car. So Ronnie asked me, he goes, he really sprayed that on me?" I said, "No." And he goes, "I didn't think so." He was pretty upset. But the car it was fast back then for what it was. The car went 13020 or in the 1290 zone or something. And back then, you hear that and it's like, you know, you don't think much of it. So, my dad also had a Fairmont at the time of the Green Mustang that he was putting together, and he told a lot of people to go like in the 12s. A lot of people don't believe him. How's that going to go 12s, you know? He goes, "Well, I think it will." He goes, I think it'll get real deep in the 1250s, maybe even a 30, you know, 12, 20, around there. And back then, you know, you're talking, this is at the time the car was still a four-cylinder, so this is going actually back in time, but he had the car back when the Mustang was together with the V8 and the stick. So, the car ended up getting junked. The place he had it at was a shop that he was friends with, and they junked the car. They took the motor out of it, sold it, junked the rest of the car. Actually, I have the hood scoop from it on the thing. So you might wonder what that has to do with this Green Mustang. But that car kind of paved the way, because a lot of people told my dad that, no, you can't do it, blah, blah, blah. And that's one reason why I went with the Wien intake, the 8011, is because of that Fairmont. So these cars each played a role in kind of where I'm at today and why this green car is so special and important. So now back to when I'm about 13 or so, you know, the car's together. I think it might have overheated and blew a head gasket. So we fix that, take the car out, and the car, you know, feels good with the head gasket fixed. So we get it back to where we fixed. Our buddy Tom helped us fix that. And get the car back home, and it starts breaking up. And like just not running good at all. It's like so my dad gets it home, calls Tom, and he goes, "I don't know what's up with this thing, man." He goes, "It was fine, and now it's running pretty bad." So Fred had a motor on the stand, and we end up getting the motor, because this one we found bolts in our motor. And there had been a gentleman in the shop kind of crouched down by the intake manifold. And we can't say that it was anybody's fault or intentional, but it's kind of self-explanatory. So we end up getting this motor in it, and it's slapped together. It doesn't have the tricks done my dad did, and it does not put on like the other motor did. But it's running, it's driving, it's back, you know. So my dad has a car again. So the car's still fast. It's just not like it was. And there was a couple reasons. One was the cam timing, and the other one was the ignition timing. So get the car running, and I think it was over Fred's where we put the motor in it. And Fred goes to my dad. My dad goes, I want to pull that distributor back out and fix that. Fred goes, well, you could take it up the road and do that because we're not doing it here. He goes, you know, we put it in, it's right, that's it. And Fred's a good guy, but he has his own ways of doing things, and my dad has his. So my dad goes, oh, all right. So we leave. He pulls the distributor out, pops it back in where he wants it, and the car felt different. Now, a lot of people say, well, if it's timed, it's timed. But there is, maybe it's just up in here, but that car did feel different. And I can't remember if it was the old motor or this one, but we had the car over Tom's for something. Or no, we stopped by Tom's. That's what it was. We stopped over at Tom's, and there's this guy, Louie. And Louie had bought a car from Richie. Real clean, pretty. It was like that light blue color SN95 car. And Louie was getting stuff done to it. And this car had a 347 stroker in it, stick shift, aluminum heads, cam, carbureted. So there's not even the excuse of it needing a tune or something. You know, this car was fast. It was no joke. And it had these 17-inch, like 99 GT wheels on it. The car was clean. It was a nice car. And so Louie goes, I got something for you, Terry. I heard about that thing. He goes, you ain't getting past this, though. And my dad goes, oh, I'm here. So if you want to run it, I ain't got nothing. I ain't scared of that. And he goes, yeah? Yeah. I'll run you. He goes, all right. Because when he's done doing whatever he was having done, he goes, we could do it. So it might have been later that day or something. Somehow Brian and Richie, I can't remember if we went over Brian's and Brian called Richie or how it happened, but everybody shows up. Because Richie knew the car, he owned the car, and, you know, they want to see this. So Louie, he goes, how much you want to run for? My dad goes, oh, I don't have no money to put on it. You know, I'm strapped. I got to take my son home. I need gas to go. And stuff, you know. And he goes, I don't have nothing to throw on it. He goes, I'll run you. He goes, you know, I do this for fun, not whatever. Louie goes, oh, all right. He goes, I don't know. So Brian speaks up. He goes, whatever you want. He goes, 500? More? 300? What do you want to do? He goes, I'll put it up. He goes, don't even worry about it. He goes, I'll put it up. He goes, however much you want, Louie. And Louie goes, we can. He backed right down. We can just do it for fun. And Richie goes, what are you, nuts? So we all get in the cars, and evidently the conversation in Brian and Richie's car. She goes, what are you, crazy? I own that car. And Brian goes, I don't care. Terry's going to kill that thing. He goes, that's got 347, Richie. That's got 347 and everything in it. No way. Brian goes, you watch. He goes, from the start. So we go out to this road that my dad runs on, and they line up. I flag it. I point. Ready? You ready? Flash your lights, whatever. Up, down. And boom, my dad jumps out, gets the win. Louie spins. He's on these 17-inch street tires. And once it started hooking, you know, you could see it start to close distance, but my dad was out on him so bad that it didn't even matter. Louie comes back, he goes, I want the other lane. I'm getting the other lane. Doing that again. Oh, okay. So he turns around. My dad goes, how was that? I said, he wants to rerun you. He goes, it's all right. I said, he wants the other lane. He goes, you can have whatever lane he wants. I said, well, he actually demanded the other lane. He goes, yeah? Because he demanded the other lane? He goes, watch, it's going to be worse. I don't know how it can get any worse than that. You just put 5 or 7 cars on him, whatever it was. You couldn't even think it could be that bad. He was right. It was worse. Same deal. Point, point, up, down, boom. My dad out on him, slips a clutch. He just laid it on him. Bad. And Louis was ticked. Brian goes, I told you, you know, like, he's all, I told you that's how it was going to go. I knew Terry'd get it. Brian was a riot back then. He's funny. Richie is too. Richie's funny. But Brian back then, man, you just had to know him. He was hysterical. Him and Chuck, two guys that would just crack you up. And, you know, there's some of the races I remember. Along with a couple other ones. But they're two of the big ones that were just, like, crazy. And, there were three, whatever I just told you guys. So then, the car goes to NMRA. He runs it a couple times in NMRA. True Street, B3 class. Have good times, good memories. Going to the track, watching him race it. And then I get my first car, which was a green sunroof, split image. I was supposed to get this one, and my dad goes, no, you're going to wreck that car, and I'm not having it. You're not going to wreck that car. He goes, so you're going to get a different one, and I'll give you everything out of it, but I'm not doing that to that car. Whatever. So I found a twin, and he was right. I wrecked it. And this car sat for a long time. I put the black car together. We ended up losing our house, so now I'm paying storage on this car because theoretically I guess it's mine. So I'm paying like $50 a month or something for this thing to sit in a field in the middle of Browns Mills. So that was from like 2015 or 16 till 2017 when I picked the car out of the field. I said, I'm tired. I said, if I'm going to pay for a car to sit, I might as well put this thing together. I'm blowing money on something. No, I'll just put it together at this point. So, and the car's starting to go to crap. The windows are peeling in it. They're separating from the heat, and the car's sun-baked and just, you know, fading out. I said, I gotta get that thing. My dad, that thing's going to waste over there. I was over Tommy's again, and it's just going to waste sitting there. So, alright, put it together. So at the time, I had the black car. I was getting mini-tubbed, caged, and stuff put in it from R&M. So like, well, I'll throw this together in the meantime and have some fun with something. So, I get the car, and I pull the carpet out because the carpet's toast. There's mice in it. You can see the nests. And I had a set of welds from my Fairmont, which I had sold that. So I took the welds from that, put them on this, and start putting the car together. You know, used rust killer and stuff on the floor, treatment, because it was starting to rust from the carpet getting wet and old car stuff. So I ended up buying this convertible from a buddy, and it was his first Mustang. He goes, at least I'll get to see, you know, the motor and stuff live on in the car. And I ended up parting that car out. I got it for like $600. And I parted the rest of it out. I mean, I sold the rear, the headlights, hood, you name it, it got sold. And then we cut the front end off of it, pulled the motor out of it, if I remember right. Like, we tore this car up. We strapped it, the back of it, because it had no rear in it, so we ratchet strapped it to the back of my buddy's truck, my friend Alex. And this was all at Alex's house. He let me use his garage. You know, we helped each other out and went over there every day after work and worked on this. He let me run that garage, basically, you know. I mean, minus him, whatever he wanted to do, it was his spot, you know. If he wanted something rearranged, we did it. But my tools were there, my stuff was there, and he let me do almost anything I wanted to do, for the most part. I mean, and then my buddy Mike ended up getting the house, and same deal. He let me do whatever I wanted to do. But I take the motor out of that Mustang, which was incredibly slow to the point where it wouldn't spin the tires on wet pavement. We took it to Wawa up the street, illegal. And I said, Alex, look at this. I said, OD. I said, I'm floored. And looked at him, and the car's winding up. He goes, what? I said, I don't know, man. I might have trouble getting this to go 11s. He said, this one's going to be rough. I'll be lucky if this thing goes 12s or 13s. He goes, yeah, I don't know. I get the car back, and then, like I told you, I parted everything out and took the motor from it. And then we had a customer's car there. He didn't want the stick. So somehow I worked a deal to get the trans. And that thing was like real loose. The input shaft was loose in it. And I told you guys about this. I shoved the snap ring in between the bearing and the input shaft hub. And it tightened it up to the point where I needed a clutch disc to spin the trans. This is what I was working with, you know. Ended up getting a deal on a K-member. Bought that with the control arms. It's still in the car. Ended up getting a deal. The rear I pieced together. Alex, I think, had axles. I bought the axles from him somehow, or I traded him something. The spool, I can't remember if he had that too. The 430s, I think I got used. They were like $100 or something, or might have even been given to me. And then I bought the odds and ends I needed, and I built the rear. Had my buddy Wayne weld the ends on, straighten it. He hates me for rears because I was bringing him rears at one point. He goes, every rear you bring me, it's like it gets worse and worse. He goes, right when I think I can't see one that's worse than what you just brought me, you bring me another one that is. He goes, I never seen these things so beat up in my life. And he goes, I'm not straightening them no more, and he's still straightening them. He's another good guy that I grew up with, seeing him build stuff. But he's an awesome fabricator. And car went together, you know. I had south sides in it. I take it to the track. Right out the gate, it goes right into 12s. I street raced with it first time. Before it went to the track, I ran a Trans Am, got beat. The lady beat me. But I mean, the car I worked onto it and stuff, you know, kind of should have. But this is untested at the time, and I just went out there to have some fun. Ran her, got beat. Went back to the drawing board, went to the track. Car needed plug wires and stuff on it. Needed suspension in it because the car was just hopping. I think it went 1230s or something. 1260 or 1230. And then this was on the chase to go 11s. So this is what I'm doing with the car now. And I did the UPR stuff in it. Uppers, adjustable, solid stuff, spherical bushings. Put the lowers in, you know, brand new arms, and I'm cutting them up and making them fit with the south side brackets. And this is learning. I'm learning. I put the car down and the car slammed on the tire, and I'm like, man, what the heck is this? To the point where it's like it can't move because I had cut springs in it at the time. So I had to go get springs. I put stock springs in it, and it raises the car back up to where it has a nice stance. That's how it is right now. Same springs are still in the car to this day. So, got the car raised back up. I can drive it now. I take the car down. I think at this point it goes like a 12-1. Then it goes a 12-0. And then it goes like a 12-0-0-0. And there's no more passes I can make. It's the last pass of the day. And I'm like, you couldn't go 0.001 faster. Went 12.000. Now at this point I'm souped because the car still isn't. It's still got a flat hood on it, cow hood, but it's not cut for a scoop or nothing. I think I had the passenger seat in it, if I remember right. Stuff that I knew, like, if I had to go 11s, I could do. So go back down to the track. It goes 12 O's again. And we're like, let's put the Lexan scoop on it and see what it does. So boom, 1190. And it backs it up. So it's like, all right, we're in the 11s now. So Facebook post, the whole build was documented on Facebook. So then goes 1190. Do some other stuff to it. Switch the exhaust up. I put race bullets right off the header. That did nothing. I put valance on it. That did nothing. The Lexan scoop obviously worked, but when I cut the hood out, it slowed the car back down. So now I'm back like in the 12s. The air-fuel ratio was way lean. I had to richen it back up. So I get the air-fuel and playing with it. I think Mickey actually has me on video playing with the air-fuel ratio carburetor. And I get it back. 1190, goes 1180s. Fastest pass 1182. Now it's time to spray it. So we spray it. Goes 1070s on the bottle, long story short, after a fiasco. And then that's with the stock T5. Then I put the G-Force T5 in it. Still goes, I think that's why I went the fastest pass with the 1182 on motor. And then it went 1040s on the bottle. The trans on motor actually slowed it down at first. I had to add a lot more clutch. And then on the bottle, I had to pull the clutch back out of it because it would slip the clutch. So there's a lot of messing around, playing with stuff, adjustments, shock settings, learning the shock settings on the car, that you actually adjust them back, the opposite of what you would think. Instead of making the right side tighter, you make the left side tighter because the car anti-squats. When the car is rolling over, you need to slow the driver's side down. So you actually tighten the driver's side on that. Just gave you guys a trick if you've been with me this long. So now I put ported heads on it. It goes 1150s. We want to see what these heads do. My dad did. We've had these things for years. My dad did them in the back of his trunk with a drill. I think we used a drill bit to actually port them. And then he cleaned them up. When I said I wanted to use them, he went back over them and cleaned them up with the paper rolls that he uses and the correct stone stuff and carbide bits and everything. But I think back then we actually used a drill to shape them, like with a actual drill bit. Imagine that, and a lot by hand too. Sandpaper in hand. A lot of time back then. But we've had these heads for years, so I said I want to use them. I said just clean them up. I said don't go crazy. I said but make them work. He finished them. I reground the stock valves in them that I think were out of a different set of heads. I just ground another set of valves in them and put them on the car. It goes 1150s. And I had problems. I blew a wheel cylinder out in the car. So who knows how much was actually left with that setup. I think I could have got pretty close to the 10s, to be honest, because this cam, I don't think it's worth much, but it does do something. So it goes 1150. I end up putting a blower on it, S trim. That's why the cow's all cut out, because I had an intercooler air to water on there. The car with the S trim has a blow through that I put together, and I use JB Weld and stuff in it, not knowing you need fuel resistant epoxies. And I just couldn't get this thing right. I had a guy helping me. I can't remember the name of the company, but the dude I bought his power valves because they're actually boost reference power valves. And this guy, I'm calling him 10 o'clock at night, saying, hey man, you know, blah blah blah, whatever, and he's helping me at the track. 9 o'clock, whatever it is, he's on the phone helping me, and all I did was buy $20 worth of power valves off of him. You know what I mean? It's the type of guy. He's up in New York. Great dude. He's telling me the things to change. And I learned a lot, but I couldn't get it right because the funds for me just weren't there at this time. You know, I started running out of things. And actually, I think I was buying a house. So I think that's what the main issue was at that time. It was right around the time I was buying the house. So I didn't have the funds to play with a carburetor or buy a carburetor. You know, I'm trying to buy a house. It's more important. So I end up scratching that idea after I pop a head gasket or two. And I put it on motor, use the Parker funnel web. Car just didn't perform well. Pull it back apart. At the time, there's still no cam in it. There's this factory cam, I think. Actually, when I put the Parker on it, it might have had a cam in it. I can't remember. But I pull the motor out of it, give it to my dad. I get my blue four-door Fairmont, put that together, run that for a while. So this car's sitting again. And then the blue Fairmont, it kind of, I started having problems. I had problems with the trans. I pull that out, put a trans back in it, and then it's starting to rattle and stuff. And I'm like, it sounds like the flex plate. I'm not messing with it. I said, I could care less. I'm done with this thing. This thing's a headache. It's just problem after problem, and it's not running where it should. I'm disgusted with it. So it's like, it's time to sell it. So I sell it. And so much time goes by. I forget what I was doing. I might have been working on the black Mustang. The people that bought the Fairmont hit me up and they said, yo, you want this motor back? I said, yeah, I'll take it back. He said, all right. Probably have to clean it up, but you can have it. Just come get it. We want it out of the way. So, all right. So I sold it as a short block. I took the top end off of it and sold it with the short block in the car because I sold the car for like $35 and I sold the heads and stuff. So I made some pretty decent money off the car. So I go to pick up this short block, get a friend of mine to bring me up where they were at, and I see the motor and it's just shot. I mean, the cylinders are rusty, and I'm like, we just wasted a trip. So I'm like, I'm committed now. I had to pick a couple other things up. They were giving me hood scoop back off the car, I think, and a shifter. So I get the motor, I get it back, and I'm looking it over. I'm like, I don't know, I might just be better off pulling the cam out. And I said, I'll try to clean it up. If we can get it cleaned up halfway decent, maybe. So we get PB Blaster, we soak it, me and my dad use a pad on it. Thought I might have had one here, but emery cloth, maroon pad. Clean it up best we can. I do have one. One of these. Right here. So this is it. That's what cleaned the motor up. And I mean, it was bad. I think we actually did take sandpaper too and go in there a little bit and knock the heavy stuff off. It was bad to the point where it couldn't spin over. We get it where it turns over. So, all right. Well, worst case scenario, I'm not out anything except gaskets, which I think I had the stuff laying around. So I was like, I'll throw it together, put it in a car. Right? You know, I can't afford to buy a motor or nothing right now. I'm trying to put something else together, I think, at the time. And I toss this thing together, and I go to do the oil change on it before I start it. So I put the motor in the car, assemble it, put it in the car, go to drain the oil. Mickey was here for it. And so much water poured out of this thing that it was unbelievable. You'd be lying. You think I'm lying with how much water came out of this thing. So I drain it out, and I put oil in it. My dad goes, "You're not going to pull that back out?" I said, "No." He goes, "You should check the bearings in that thing." He goes, "That thing ain't going to run like that." I said, "What's the worst I got to do? Bearings in it?" I said, "If I start it and it knocks, I'll shut it down and put bearings in it. If it even runs." I said, if the motor's got to come out, it might as well have to come out. I said, so it's going to run first. Run it. Starts up. Sounds good. Motor's quiet. Doesn't smoke. Surprisingly. Send it. So I put it together. Finish up whatever I got to finish up. Take it to the track. Car goes 10s. Right off the bat. I think first pass it spun. It was a 1090. I mean, it was a sketchy ride because I'm holding on for dear life. I'm on a 26-inch slick because that's all I could find cheap. And this thing's just revving out through the traps. I'm like, man, this is sketchy. Like, I think I was 7,800 through the traps if I'm not mistaken. I'm like, holy crap. I was like, I hope it don't blow up. So it goes 10s. And then I ended up putting 28s on it. Ran some people in the 26s. I put 28s on it. Had some grudge races on the street. Go to the track. And trying to go 9s on the bottle with it. And the car's going 10-0. 10-0. The hatch blows off of it the first pass because I had a glass hatch with 4 pins holding it on. So I learned that you can't do that. Then the second pass, the fuel pump came unplugged. The car launches and it just dies out on nitro. So that was great. And then I make another pass. I think it goes 10-0. I pull the exhaust off of it. And it did finally go 996. So then, next season, changed some stuff over winter, put the forward front exits on it. Had the heads redone. I shouldn't say redone, but my dad cleaned them up a little bit more and had a valve job done. Put the GT40 sized valves. Changed the push rods over. I can't remember if I changed the rockers at this point or if that was before. I think at this point I changed the rockers. So I made a couple changes to really help this thing out. I did, however, add weight. I put the factory hatchback on it. I think that was it. I think I just put the stock hatchback on it. Maybe a couple other little things. I don't know. And then the car goes out and it goes a 990 again. And started racing people on the street. Lost to 2 LS cars. I really had no business racing them. The one is on YouTube. You can go back and look at it. But the other one, it was just a straight gangster, and I had no business even sitting next to it. But I ran it. Lost money. And however, this car has won a lot on the street. I mean, this thing's... I could probably count on one hand how many races it's lost that mattered compared to how many it's won. I don't know if I could use my hands and toes. So the win to loss ratio of this car, even with me owning it, it's down there. Which some of that is luck, or God, I should say. Not so much luck, it's more so God. But I feel like he's with me with this car a lot. He is. Not feel like he is. He's got me out of a lot of close calls with this car. And that's one reason why I kind of pulled it apart, was because it was just sketchy. I put the LS in it to try to go faster. Figured the automatic might calm it down. That was the last of it, Gave the motor to my dad, put in his car, didn't work out too well. And now we're back with it. So hopefully, same motor that, you know, was out of my Fairmont. That was all rusted up. And I also notched the pistons in it with a drill, you know, because I had the heads milled. And I mean, I cut them things pretty deep, so I had the clearance. And just a lot of stuff that you shouldn't do is done to this. And it just goes to show that you could take junk, literal junk, and it can run respectable. But that's why this car is sentimental to me, and you couldn't put a price for me to get rid of this thing. I had somebody try to buy it, and he goes, "How much would you want for that?" I said, "You're better off buying one and me building it." He goes, "I want that one." I said, "No." He goes, "Come on." He goes, "Name your price." I said, "No." I said, "You're not getting this car." I said, I'll put it to you this way. You could hit the lottery and offer me all of it, and you wouldn't get it. This car is a part of me. And honestly, it's how I met my fiance. This was my profile picture, and we met online. And so if it wasn't for this car, who knows? You know, things happen in life where I think they're meant to happen. But I think this car right here is it's led to where I'm at for sure. The black one has too, but this car there's no words to describe it. I've told you a lot about it. I mean, this is an hour long. I don't even know if you guys lasted this long, but this car here is it's been through so many different phases with me. And it's just a good car, you know, grace of God. And I think God's with me with all my stuff, but for some reason I think this is really, he's on the team with this car. And like I said, it's very sentimental. So this car is put it to you this way, I want to put my son in this and drive it with him, and it'd be nice to pass it down when I'm too old to wheel it. Pass it down to him, and if he wants it, you know, if he's into cars and stuff, I'd like to be able to give him this and keep it in the family. This is something I want in the family for generations. As long as it possibly can, at least. Even if it's sitting in the garage, covered up, you know, when everything's electric or whatever it might be, in however many years, hopefully later than it is sooner, but they end up outlawing this stuff during my time. This car will still, I'll be bootlegging E85 or something and, you know, be an outlaw. But that pretty much wraps it up. It's a long history. It's a long video. I apologize for it being so long. Hopefully you guys stuck around. I kept your attention long enough for you to enjoy this video. And now you guys know the history and the backstory of the car. So thank you guys for watching. If you can, if you're new, want to subscribe, help me out for the No Name Nationals. I'm trying to get this car done to go to that. One of the many things I'd like to do with the car this year. And you know, if you are new and you didn't make it this far, then I guess I'm wasting my breath. But thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next time. I got some updates. And I was going to show you guys, there's more stuff done on the car, but this is already an hour, so probably make another video. It's a little shorter so that you guys can check out. And you know, check that one out too. So, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time.